Hi, I'm Jian Zhang from Seongkyungwan University. This is my first video I've uploaded on YouTube. In this clip, I will introduce the theory of audiences. Audience is a key element in media theory, so I hope you to enjoy my video. Okay, so let's start. First, let me introduce the introduction to audiences. Every week, the list of the top 10 grossing films in the country is published in many newspapers and magazines. Being at number one in any chart is a big accolade, not only because it means lots of people like your product, but also because the ensuing publicity is a way of keeping that product in the public eye. This approach to audience is a quantitative one, which focuses on quantities and so relies on counting and figures to suggest something about how the world works and what people within it do. But all of these approaches tell us very little about what audiences actually do. For example, while a song may reach a high position in the music charts on radio number 1, we have no idea whether someone who bought it did so for themselves or as a present, whether the song has some special meaning for them, how often they play it, or anything else. What this quantitative approach to audiences does is to see people as nothing more than consumers. Media studies has attempted to think about audiences in a variety of different ways. Each approach has often focused on trying to examine audience activity on a much smaller scale. For example, researchers carry out long-term research on small groups of people in their normal environment to try and place their media consumption within the everyday context. This could mean living with a family for months, as Morley did, to see what media means to individuals and how they place it within their everyday lives. Such research examines what people do with media and therefore suggests individual audience members are much more active, critical, and distinctive than raw ratings might suggest. This kind of research is called qualitative and is interested in context, events, processes, and the complexity of people's everyday behavior. This also raises questions about the relationship between media and people. Many media studies theorists dislike the idea of audiences being nothing more than consumers, and instead see the media as an important part of the ways in which democratic societies function. Thinking about the best ways to research audience is an important part of thinking about the social roles the media play in our everyday lives as consumers, citizens, audiences, and publics. This is Professor Ang in Australia. For her, the various ways in which different groups and institutions define the people who consume media tell us something about the systems in which they work and the ways in which they are interested in audience activity. This sense, measuring the audience is not a neutral act, because in doing so you have to decide what it is you are interested in and therefore what you are not interested in. The linguistic distinction is seen as important, and media studies often refers to audiences rather than the audience. Using the plural, therefore, has implications for research methods, as it means you can ask questions that are still meaningful about specific individuals. However, the plural also has a political intent because it is a term which refuses to lump together millions of people as an undistinguishable mass and instead sees individual activity as indicative of audience power. You need to be careful when using the terms audience and audiences because they have different meanings, and they are often used in very specific ways in many readings you will come across. Okay, this is the end of the introduction, and let me introduce the book reading of the audiences. The advertisers whose products are offered for sale in the commercials pay large sums of money to the broadcasters in exchange for the airtime they acquire to disseminate the message. The system operates according to the laws of the capitalist market economy so that advertising time in the most popular programs is generally the most expensive. Good ratings results are the agreed upon signifier effective communication between advertiser and audience, and the commercial networks must try to achieve those good ratings results, that is, to maximize their audience through shrewd and attractive programming. Ratings play a central role in this process, but that role is a highly ambivalent one. Although ratings produce some generalized information about who has watched which programs, they do not give any clue about the more specific question of what made people watch the programs, so that it is very difficult to use ratings to predict future success or failure. A different positioning of audience is at stake here. Not the audience as market, but the audience as public is the central object of concern within public service institutions. The audience as public consists not of consumers but of citizens who must be reformed, educated, informed, as well as entertained. In short, served presumably to enable them to better perform their democratic rights and duties. The audience as public idea is in fact the more classic one of the two and fits in the so-called transmission model of communication. Here, communication is defined by such terms as sending or transmitting messages to others. In the audience as market idea, however, such purposive transfer of meaning is only of secondary importance. As McQuile has remarked, the essence of any market is to bring goods and services to the attention of potential consumers to arouse and keep their interest. In short, what they need to do is to somehow reconcile the two contrasting paradigms of audience. Both commercial and public service institutions then cannot stop struggling to conquer the audience, no matter whether audience members are identified as consumers or citizens. This brings me back to the more general discursive mechanisms of knowledge produced from the institutional point of view. Okay, and finally, at the end of my video, I made audience modeling that I've been talking about. I hope it will help you understand the theory. Okay, so this is audience theory and I will finish the video. Thank you for watching.